Europe did not see it coming. What began as a distant problem suddenly reached the heart of the continent. Borders that once felt secure became meaningless overnight. Roads filled with people, train stations turned into camps. Local towns felt pressure they had never experienced before. Hungary stood right in the middle of it. In just a few months, the country went from calm to chaos. Thousands crossed its borders every single day, not in secret, not slowly, but openly, in large groups, moving through fields, roads, and cities. The system broke, police could not keep up, registration centers overflowed, trains stopped running on schedule, locals were confused and afraid. The government said the situation was out of control. Many leaders across Europe said this was normal. They said borders were outdated. They said migration could not be stopped. Hungary disagreed. What Hungary did next shocked the entire continent. Some called it heartless. Others called it brave. Critics said it violated values. Supporters said it saved the country from collapse. But one fact remains impossible to ignore. Within a short time, illegal crossings into Hungary fell by more than 99%. No speeches, no endless debates, just action. Stay with this video till the end, because the full story behind Hungary's decision is far more powerful than most people realize. To understand Hungary's response, you must understand where Hungary is. Hungary is not an island. It has no ocean protecting it. It sits directly on one of Europe's main migration routes. When people moved north from conflict zones, Hungary became a gateway. Most migrants did not want to stay. They wanted to pass through. But passing through still creates pressure. Every person must be registered. Every train must be managed. Every town must absorb the impact. By the summer, numbers exploded. Hundreds became thousands. Thousands became tens of thousands. The border no longer existed in practice. The government believed something dangerous was happening. When a country cannot control who enters, it loses control over everything else. That belief shaped every decision that followed. Hungary declared a state of crisis. This was not symbolic. It allowed emergency powers, faster laws, immediate enforcement. The government said the country faced a choice: either restore order or lose control completely. The first step was the most visible one. Hungary decided to build a fence. Not a message, not a warning. A real barrier. Steel posts, razor wire, patrol roads, cameras, sensors. It stretched across the southern border. At first, many laughed. European leaders mocked the idea. Media said it would fail. But the fence was completed quickly, and once it was active, everything changed. The border was no longer open land. It became a controlled line. Crossings now dropped immediately. But Hungary knew a fence alone would not be enough. So the second step was legal. Crossing the border illegally became a crime. Not a fine, a crime. Fast courts were created. Cases were handled quickly. Consequences were clear. The message was simple: if you enter illegally, you will not stay. This decision drew heavy criticism. Human rights groups protested. European officials warned of consequences. Hungary did not change course. The government believed deterrence only works when rules are enforced. Weak rules invite chaos. Strong rules stop it. The third step focused on the asylum system. Hungary created transit zones near the border. These were controlled areas where asylum requests could be submitted. Entry into the country depended on approval. Applicants could not move freely while waiting. They could not disappear into cities. Each case was reviewed under strict limits. Approval rates dropped sharply. Hungary argued asylum must be legal, limited, and controlled, not automatic. Critics said the system was harsh. Hungary responded with one argument: a system that collapses helps no one. By the end of the first year, results were clear. Illegal crossings nearly stopped. Applications collapsed. The chaos disappeared. Hungary had regained control. Supporters said the proof was undeniable. Critics said the country closed its heart. But the system worked exactly as designed. Yet this was only the beginning. Because solving a crisis does not mean removing pressure forever. It means choosing who enters. Hungary did not. And migration, it reshaped it. Asylum became nearly impossible. At the same time, Hungary quietly opened legal paths for workers under strict rules. This was migration by choice, not by force. Control replaced chaos. Across Europe, reactions were fierce. Courts challenged Hungary. The European Union demanded compliance. Quotas were proposed. Pressure increased. Hungary refused. The government said migration policy is a national decision. No outside power, it argued, has the right to decide who lives inside its borders. This refusal turned Hungary into a symbol. To some, it was a warning. To others, it was an example. Something else happened quietly. Smugglers changed routes. Hungary was no longer advertised as an easy path. The business of illegal migration moved elsewhere. This revealed an uncomfortable truth. Migration flows follow weakness, where borders are soft. Pressure increases where borders are strong. Pressure shifts. Hungary proved this. In real time, elections followed, and voters made their choice clear. The public supported the hardline again and again. For many Hungarians, the issue was not ideology, it was trust. They believed their leaders acted when others only talked. Europe watched at first. Hungary stood alone, but slowly. The tone across the continent began to change. Countries that once mocked fences began reinforcing borders. Laws tightened, controls increased. The debate shifted from open borders to controlled entry. What Hungary did early, others did later, but few admitted it. This brings us to the question that still divides. Europe, did Hungary solve the immigration crisis, or did it simply close the door? When Hungary closed its borders, the reaction was instant. Anger spread across Europe. Media headlines attacked the decision. Officials in Brussels warned of punishment. Activists accused Hungary of abandoning values. Hungary did not move, because while others were shouting, the numbers were speaking. Illegal crossings had collapsed. Routes had shifted. The pressure was gone. Hungary believed one thing mattered more than opinions. Results? The European Union tried to force Hungary to change course. Migrant quotas were proposed. Hungary was told to accept a fixed number of people. Hungary refused. The government said borders are not shared property. Migration decisions affect security, culture, and social order. Those decisions, Hungary argued, belong to nations, not institutions. This refusal triggered legal battles. Courts ruled against Hungary. Fines were discussed. Political pressure increased. Hungary still refused. The message was clear. Control would not be negotiated, critics claimed. Hungary was isolating itself. Hungary answered with another question: is protecting borders isolation or responsibility? The question exposed a deep split inside Europe. Some believed borders no longer mattered. Others believed borders were the foundation of the state. Hungary chose the second view. Then came elections. This is where the story becomes uncomfortable for critics. Hungarian voters supported the policy. Not once, multiple times. Each election reinforced the same message. The public wanted order. They wanted safety. They wanted control. Migration was no longer an abstract debate. It was something people had lived through. Crowded stations. Fear of losing control, voters rewarded action. Supporters of Hungary's approach argued something important. A government that ignores public fear creates instability. Government that restores order creates trust. Hungary believed trust was more important than approval from outside. Across Europe, the tone slowly changed. Countries that once called fences immoral began strengthening borders. Patrols increased. Asylum rules, tightened emergency powers expanded. The same steps Hungary took early appeared elsewhere years later. Quietly, without announcements, but the direction was clear. Hungary had exposed a reality many leaders avoided. Uncontrolled migration creates political backlash. Ignoring public concern fuels Extremism, control, stabilizes society. Whether people liked it or not, the pattern was visible. Then came a new test: war. When fighting erupted in Ukraine, millions fled in days. Borders across Europe opened instantly. Hungary responded again, but differently. Ukrainians were allowed entry. Aid was provided. Support was organized. This moment revealed something important. Hungary was not against people fleeing war. Hungary was against uncontrolled systems. There was a difference. At the same time, Hungary tightened asylum rules even more. Applications were moved outside the country. Approval became extremely rare. The system was designed to discourage attempts. Before they began, critics said the system was impossible to use. Hungary did not deny it. The government said that was intentional. Something unexpected happened next. While asylum nearly disappeared, legal migration increased. Workers arrived under permits, factories filled, jobs, businesses stabilized. This was not chaos. This was selection. Hungary chose who? Entered. This created a new model. Borders closed to disorder. Doors open to controlled entry. The government said migration must serve the country, not overwhelm it. This idea directly challenged Europe's earlier approach. Critics accused Hungary of lacking compassion. Supporters replied with a hard truth: compassion without control collapses. Order without limits disappears. Hungary believed real help requires stability first. Financially, policy was expensive. Fences cost billions. Technology required constant upgrades. Legal battles drained resources. Hungary accepted the cost. The government said the price of chaos would be higher. International pressure never fully stopped. Hungary remained a target of criticism, but something changed. The country was no longer alone. Other nations followed similar paths. Not openly, but effectively, the debate shifted across Europe from welcoming everyone to choosing who enters, from emotional language to security language. Hungary had forced the conversation, but the story was not finished, because stopping illegal entry does not erase migration pressure. Redirects it, and the long-term consequences were still unfolding. That leads to the final question. Did Hungary build a solution, or did it simply delay a larger problem? By the early 2020s, something became clear. The chaos of 2015 had not returned to Hungary. The border remained firm. Illegal crossings stayed low. The system held. While other countries struggled with repeated waves, Hungary remained stable. This stability did not happen by accident. It was enforced. But another truth also emerged. Migration did not disappear from Hungary. It changed form. The number of foreign residents slowly increased over time. Workers arrived under permits. Temporary protections were granted during emergencies. The country did not seal itself from the world. It filtered entry. Hungary made a distinction. Asylum was restricted. Economic migration was managed. Humanitarian emergencies were handled separately. This separation became the core of Hungary's model. Critics argued this created inequality. Supporters argued it created clarity. Hungary believed clarity was necessary. When rules are unclear, systems break. When rules are strict, systems survive. The European Union continued to challenge. Hungary court rulings demanded changes. Fines were threatened. Political pressure remained constant. Hungary adjusted some details but kept the core intact. Borders stayed strong. Asylum stayed limited. Control stayed central. Over time, public attention shifted. Migration was no longer the daily crisis it once was. Other issues took center stage. But the lesson of 2015 stayed alive. Hungary did not forget, neither did Europe. Across the continent, leaders quietly absorbed the message. Voters demanded order. Security became a priority. Border control returned as a serious policy. Topic: what once sounded extreme became normal. What once sounded unacceptable became necessary. Hungary had moved first, others followed. Still, the moral debate never disappeared. Some believe Hungary protected its nation, others believe it closed its heart. Both views exist. Both sides remain convinced, but reality does not bend to opinions. It responds to action. Hungary proved one thing beyond doubt: uncontrolled. Migration can be stopped. It requires political will. It requires enforcement. And it requires accepting criticism. But Hungary also revealed a hard truth. There is no perfect solution. Every choice carries a cost. Open borders create chaos. Closed borders create exclusion. Every nation must decide what it values more. So did Hungary solve the immigration crisis. If the crisis was loss of control, the answer is yes. If the crisis was illegal entry, the answer is yes. If the crisis was system collapse, the answer is yes. But if the crisis was global migration pressure, then no country can solve that alone. Hungary did not end migration. It ended disorder. This is why Hungary's story matters, not because it should be copied exactly, but because it proves something many believed was impossible. Control is a choice. Europe now stands at a crossroads. One path leads to continued pressure, fear, and political division. The other leads to controlled systems, hard rules, and stability. Neither path is easy, but one path avoids chaos. Hungary chose its path. Early, it paid the price. It accepted the criticism, and it changed the debate. Forever now, the question is no longer about Hungary. The question is about Europe, and about every country facing the same pressure. Will they choose control, or will they wait for collapse? If you found this breakdown useful, take a moment to like the video and subscribe for more deep stories like this. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Hungary found the right solution, or did it go too far?